Podcast, Carolina Wrestling Podcast, Carolina Wrestling Podcast.
Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. I am that guy, Trey Morgan, and I'm here with my co-host, the fallen artist, Dirk Douglas, and Hot Mike Joe Avery. Fellas, what's happening with you?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you, Joel?
I tell you, I'm absolutely fantastic. Okay, everybody here, you're doing fantastic. Trey Morgan, we very much appreciate you and how little time you have for us, but you're fantastic. Okay? We would just let you know you're doing a fantastic job. Okay, it's fantastic.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. I see that you're in a good mood today here, Joel. Good to see that, man. How was everything? How was your guys' weekend and all that good stuff?
Oh man, it's great sometimes, you know, just to de-stress and maybe turn the phone off for a little bit, because as we all know, wrestling is unfortunately full of controversy. And lo and behold, when I turned my cellular device back on after de-stressing, being offline for a while over the weekend, enjoying, you know, the fire pit by the woods at night, I come back on. And boy, howdy, did the fire hit the pan and the grease spilled everywhere. Because I'm sure everyone's heard by now, because everyone's putting their 2 cents in on it at this point. Avery Styles has gotten into some hot water.
Yeah. So it all started with a tweet from Natty after the show, because I think he wrestled one of her students. And she was putting over Avery. She's like, hey, he had a great match. I was really surprised. And he's willing to pay his dues.
Yeah, and then apparently
that's where it started.
Someone else who was at the show made another post and exposed, if you will, the fact that apparently Avery didn't bother helping with setup or teardown. And that's kind of sparked a huge debate online. But what really sparked it off was when AJ stepped in and defended his son and kind of got in the hot seat. And that's what really poured gasoline on the fire.
That's the only thing that I seen was AJ's comment. Like, I haven't seen anybody else's stuff. You know, I've been busy. Yeah. I haven't really been on social media a whole lot here the past weekend or the past couple days. So the only thing that I seen was AJ's tweet saying he was contracted to work for GCW, to wrestle for GCW, and not setting up a ring or not helping with teardown or setup, I guess.
And that's kind of been the spark for this huge debate that is taking over basically the entire American wrestling world right now, because names from Top Dollar to, you know, just to AJ himself, to so many other workers from indie to big time are stepping in and giving their thoughts on it.
It started with her tweet, and then Eric Cannon replied, as someone who watched this kid skirt away from helping with a single thing at this very show, I'd like to say LOFing. Then AJ replied, and he said he was paid to wrestle at GCW, not help put up or take down the ring. That sounds like your job. You sound like a jealous douche.
And see, I don't agree with that comment from AJ. I don't agree with that.
Well,
because he's used to being at WWE for a while, and they have to do that. And that's the referees and everybody else's job.
Yeah, so in WWE, obviously, the referees, and they have a ring crew whose entire job, outside of the referees also reffing, obviously, is to obviously set up and tear down that ring. However, on the independents, even all the way up as far as places like NXT in WWE, the wrestlers always help set up and tear down that ring. It's always been, that's why you always hear the saying, and you see them all over the place on these debates, on these posts, called paying your dues. Old school mentality is that is part of paying your dues. You help set up that ring. You help tear down that ring. That is your stage. That is your home. You take care of your home. So you're partially responsible for helping setting up and
I'll
taking down that
defend
ring.
them in this way because there's some things I agree with it because I'm a guy that likes to help. But what I disagree with heavily, I was trained by the main attraction. The main attraction worked WWE on a constant level. They were with the Hardys when the Hardys first got signed. They turned down contracts. They taught me that you're a larger than life superstar. You want to appear as a larger than life superstar. So as long as fans are in the area, you don't be seen. You stay in the back. You keep that presence about you. But once the fans are gone and there's no one left there but the wrestlers, that's when you go to work. And I think a lot of indie companies, they're just really on a rush to get out of there. Most of the time it's constraints with the building because the building wants you out at a certain time. Right?
Yeah.
But I highly disagree with having guys that were just out there run out to the ring and start breaking down as soon as the show's over. That kind of breaks that mystique. Like, just because we're poor, we don't want to appear poor.
Yeah, and I can see that point too, but at the same time, again, all we're really hearing is a bunch of different extremes. And as the old saying goes, when you hear two versions of the same story, oftentimes the truth is somewhere in the middle. You know, do I think Avery Styles was deliberately getting out of trying to tear down or help at all with the arena? No, I'm going to give the kid the benefit of the doubt, especially when you've got a guy like AJ Styles who's not only your trainer but your dad. I would imagine you obviously have to have some good work ethics instilled into you. But at the same time, I can also see where a lot of older vets and independent talent are looking at it like, yo, this is just pure nepotism. You're coming in here fighting your son's battles and you're speaking on for him and you're making it worse because, again, like you said earlier, Dirt, he's been in WWE for so long, you know, maybe because like you hear like I remember Bryan Danielson seeing in an interview where he made the comparison from the indies to working in WWE. In WWE, it's so much easier on them because they've got trainers, they've got medical staff. They're not the ones who have to tear down the ring. As soon as their matches are over, they can come to the back, get ice packs, relax, watch the show. As soon as the show's over, just grab their stuff, hop in their car, go on, because they know they've got ring crews there that'll tear down that whole ring setup. They don't have to touch it. You know, whereas on the independent scene, everything that gets done, it's done by the same people that you watch perform in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, and I get what you're saying, Dirk, about, keeping the mystique alive. But, I mean, dude, at this point, everyone knows at this point, the wrestlers set up and tear down the ring. And unless you're at a much bigger promotion that has its own dedicated ring crew, which, let's be real, outside of WWE, how many promotions have that?
So I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the most of them don't actually have a ring crew. It's a couple of guys. I have experience with it because I used to be a stagehand in Raleigh. So when you book a big building like Fayetteville, the Crown, or somewhere, they have workers there, and you just you'll have couple people just pointing on what to do. I was a pusher for concerts at Red Hat, which means I'd go on the back of the 18-wheeler and I would just push the cases forward and somebody else would grab them and bring them off. But that's not free in any means. You're paying, God knows how much to have a crew of guys.
That's a bunch of full-time workers right there. That's all got to get paid. And like I said, you're not going to see that on the independents anywhere. No. So it's all up to the wrestlers and the crew. So I can see the perspective of the other workers who are like, hey, you're out here, AJ, you're out here talking like this kid doesn't have to help with setup and tear down at all, which the way his message came across, that's what it looked like. It looked and sounded like to a lot of people, AJ's out here saying, because, he's my son, he doesn't have to come help and set up and tear down the ring. And to that, a lot of people were saying, okay, but I see Jimmy Hart out here helping at shows. I've seen, and Trey, you and me can attest to this. Dirk, you can attest to this. We've been at shows where there's been big names on the shows, like a C.W. Anderson, a George South, a lot of big names in this business who far outstrip just about anyone in this business at all, and they're still not too good to not come over and grab a board and help tear down that ring or help tear down the stage setup or anything like that. And that's the main argument. If they're not too good to help with setup and tear down, who is anybody to say that that they don't have to help with setup and tear down? Who is anybody to say that?
But in my experience, being done this 10 years now, and I've worked for quite a few companies that actually had some big names, like here in North Carolina, that's had big indie names before they've become stars. Working on that actually on main event level for both companies. Now I've worked for with guys like that, and it's not uncommon. I mean, I can attest myself, it's not uncommon to see guys like that not help set up or tear down anything. I've seen numerous times somebody right now that two people in the one in WWE main event picture and one in the AEW main event picture. I've worked with two of them right now that I can think off the top of my head. They didn't touch anything. They walked in, set up their table, set up their merch, sat there, waited to the show, got done, got their shit, and they left. Like, so I've seen it, and I mean, I don't think it's right, but to me, it's not uncommon.
I mean, yeah, that might be the case, but even still, the people who trump that, the people like I mentioned earlier, those Jimmy Harts, those C.W. Andersons, those George Souths. I would say if we're looking at a tier list here, Avery Styles is here. Those big indie guys that you mentioned, they're right here, maybe, let's say. Those names I just mentioned, they're up here. If these guys are not too good to help with setup, help with teardown, who is anybody below here?
Honestly, I've seen a lot of indie guys that once they think that they're doing good, they're going to stop helping. That happens a lot.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the people that I'm like, oh, they know they've got it. They know they're going to make it, and they're not going to touch anything. And I think him being AJ Styles' kid is kind of giving him a little shoe in. He was like, hey, I'm AJ Styles' kid. I can get a little shoe in to get in NXT, and I ain't got to touch shit right now.
Oh, well, he's going to NXT. It's going to happen.
And that brings up the next interesting.
Right.
And that brings up another interesting point because, one, the fact that AJ came in and kind of backed up more or less what you just said there, Trey, that kind of makes people look at him and give Avery a lot of heat because it's like, oh, so you're nothing but a Nepo baby. You're just going to ride your dad's coattail. You're not going to earn anything for yourself. He's not going to get any respect in this business because of that. That's that double-edged sword side of being a second or third generation star. But the second part of what you just said there, though, the fact that he's going to NXT, who sets and tears down the ring up in NXT? There's no ring crew at NXT. Guess who the ring crew is? The wrestlers. The NXT wrestling roster set up and tear down that ring. So once again, that brings up the argument. If contracted WWE workers who are the future of WWE, and they're setting themselves up to have long, decades tenured careers at the biggest North American wrestling promotion around, if they're not too good to help set up and tear down that ring, who is anybody else to say they're too good to do it?
Well, it's Avery's going to WWE. It's gonna happen. And when he gets there, there's a difference between him going to NXT and somebody else who doesn't have a family member in and they don't know anyone. They're going to have to go help out so they look good. Avery doesn't need that. He's already got the rub.
He's going to get he's going to get a rub. They're going to say they're going to treat everybody the same. Bullshit.
Yeah. No, politics are real.
You're the son of one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation. Of course, you're going to get preferential treatment. However, that's going to get him a lot of heat with the boys in the back at WWE when he gets there.
No, not the boys in the back at WWE, because they don't care, because they're at WWE and they make millions of dollars. It'd get him heat with the boys in the indies, but
No,
you should actually.
No, it can still get him heat with boys in the back at WWE because, as you know, because AJ Styles. Hold up
No,
now.
they don't touch that.
Hold up now, because yes, there is. Because prime example, AJ Styles, as you know, is now working behind the scenes at WWE, right? So if people who are in WWE or trying to get into WWE at the very least are watching this kid get in just because his dad is AJ Styles and he didn't have to earn it the same way any of them did, then on top of that, the fact that he's AJ Styles' kid, he's going to get looked at and potentially thrown into storylines either before he's ready or he's just going to get them handed to him because he's AJ Styles' kid, despite other guys on that roster who've been busting their asses on that roster for God knows how long, have gotten over, have put in the work, and more than deserve that opportunity. They're not getting it simply because, oh, well, AJ's kid's over here, and, we like AJ, so we're going to give it to Avery. You know?
Yeah. I mean, look, are you telling me that you've never been at an indie show with anyone better than Dominic Mysterio? I mean, Dominic's good, and he's come into his own, but he got that spot because he was Rey Mysterio's kid.
But at the same time, you know what Rey made sure. You know what Rey made sure he did. He made Dom earn it, though. Again, and I'm not saying that's the case for every second or third generation star. When it comes to Dom, he trained him relentlessly, and when he was taking him to shows, he made sure, like, hey, you're gonna do this right, and you're not too good to help out and stuff like that. But again, that's the difference between a second generation star like a Randy Orton, for example, who's a third generation. And
Randy certainly never touched a fucking wrestling ring. Not a chance.
If you're gonna say
chance.
Brock Lesnar didn't touch a ring. John Cena hadn't touched a ring.
Oba Femi ain't touched a ring because.
Are you forgetting what I just said about Oba being in NXT? He was in NXT. Who sets up and tears down the ring in NXT? Like I just said, the WWE, the NXT guys.
No, the lower tier. Again, it's all about who you are and where you're at on the card.
The ones that set up is the PC guys who are training and just getting in there. It's not the ones that's on TV.
Oba started as one of them. Oba didn't. Y'all seem to think Oba just walked in the door and was immediately placed on par with being the new next big thing that we've seen him be the last couple months. Y'all forget he started as a PC signed athlete. So he was doing all of this exact stuff that you're saying. It's just that they don't sit there and film and broadcast all of that. So it's not sung from the rooftops to everybody. Everyone just sees the bright flashy lights and the spotlight Oba's in now. They didn't see all that other stuff. And it's the same with a lot of the guys who come up through NXT. They all start at the bottom.
If I was trying to get a job in WWE and I was young, there is no way I would ever ask Avery Styles to put up a ring. I would go up to him. Hey, Avery, do you need anything, man? Oh, no, don't worry about the ring, dude. We got it, man. You want me to go get you a drink or a bottle of water? So
See, to me, that just sounds like you're trying to be a kiss ass.
That's exactly what I'd be doing. Yes, that's how politics work. And if you're trying to get a job in WWE and his dad is the person out scouting, it might benefit you to become friends with him.
Because all that's doing when they sit here and start arguing with AJ Styles, he was like, oh, right, that? Nope.
Mm-hmm.
This guy right here don't like nope.
You can't be.
Here's the problem. You're acting like
a little bit longer to get.
Well, when you're in the entertainment business, especially wrestling, that is 100% politics. You cannot have the mentality of I'm not a kiss ass, because if you're not a kiss ass, you will not make it. That is you. And I'm not saying overtly kiss ass and being a little bitch about it, but you're going to have to bend and play the politic game. You have to do the politics. You don't have a choice.
Obviously, there are some wrestlers who did. There were some who didn't and still rose to the top, you know. Like, prime example, John Moxley was one of those who was overtly, I'm not going to kiss your ass, Triple H. I'm not going to kiss your ass, Vince McMahon. You're going to keep trying to screw me, screw you. I'm leaving and I'm going to another company and I'm going to become the star that you claim that I can't ever be. And he did. You know, there's examples of both, obviously. And then there's other stars who have done the exact same thing you said, Dirk, and have ridden the kiss ass line. Like, case in point, the biggest hypocrite in wrestling today, CM Hogan, a.k.a. CM Punk.
You know, Punk is actually the opposite of what I was saying. I don't see Punk kissing no ass. They're kissing Punk's ass. There's a different.
I think it's a bit of both, honestly. But you know what? There's a video that I found.
David Zaslav, the head of fucking that television network that AEW's on, he called him one bill Phil because he equals money, right? Like, he's going to be on the show. The show's going to draw. AEW still haven't recovered from losing CM Punk. In fact, they were putting videos of CM Punk on air 6 months after he was gone just to pop a rating.
Oh, I know that. But at the end of the day, here's the thing, though. This past year in WWE has really exposed how much of a hypocrite CM Punk is. And there was a video that I stumbled across, and we've got it here for us to watch and react to, where it goes into a little bit more detail of some of the modern hypocrisy of CM Punk. And there's just a few things, but like everything from all the preaching he did about full-time guys and part-time guys, the full-time guys having to put over the guys who just come back from a vacation for titles. Punk went and did that. He sat there and crucified WWE for working with Saudi Arabia, saying they went for all that blood money and main eventing night one of a 2-night extravaganza. But then lo and behold, he has no problem coming in and main eventing night one of a night 2 PLE extravaganza in Saudi Arabia. It's like you literally are eating your own words right now, Punk. But we got this video here. Let's pull that up and we can react to it, and it'll be a little bit more cohesive to talk about.
Was his perceived authenticity. Punk presented himself as someone who spoke his mind, stood by his principles, and accepted the consequences. In recent years, however, critics have argued that Punk does not always hold himself to the same standards he demands from everyone else. One of the biggest incidents cited is Punk's appearance in Saudi Arabia. Back in 2020, CM Punk replied to a tweet from The Miz saying, "Go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, you f***ing dork." This made it all the more shocking when, in 2025, it was announced that CM Punk would wrestle in Saudi Arabia. More attention was drawn to the situation when CM Punk publicly apologized for his remarks.
This guy wants me to apologize for a mean tweet I wrote 6 years ago. Legitimately had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. I woke up and I was crabby and I wrote a mean tweet to The Miz. I sincerely apologize to you and all of Saudi Arabia.
It's fair to say that performing in Saudi Arabia is not the same as endorsing the Saudi government, and that Punk's original tweet was more of an insult to The Miz, made while he was not in the best headspace. However, Punk specifically called the money WWE and its wrestlers got from Saudi Arabia blood money. This suggests that Punk believed accepting the money itself was morally wrong.
Let's talk about that right there, because to me, I feel like that's the biggest hypocrisy of CM Punk, simply because of the horrificness of what was said, and then what he turned around and did literally just a couple years after that tweet was made. You know,
I mean, maybe people change. You could become okay with genocide in a couple years, like
but I mean, at the end of the day, and this is one of the problems that I've had in the recent year or so with CM Punk. You cannot sit here and morally grandstand something, but then do a 180 whenever it's convenient for you a couple years later. You literally crapped all over WWE and anyone associated with WWE, saying that they were taking blood money for performing in Saudi Arabia, but then you turn right and you literally, I even remember the phrase he used in the promo, like I said earlier, you can go main event night one of a 2-night PLE extravaganza. But then you turn around and do that very act that you clowned on someone else for doing. You're a hypocrite.
I think going to Saudi Arabia is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, yes.
The pay-per-views suck. Generally, my ass. The pay-per-views
No,
suck. Every single
I'm saying,
one, they suck.
I'm saying generally, not just in the
terrible
sense
idea.
They
just
make the crowd go.
They're going
not just for the not just for the fact that the PLE suck there, but also the fact that, again, the controversy around the country of Saudi Arabia itself.
they're horrible.
That's a whole nother
Horrible.
topic, obviously, that's, it initially sparked a lot of controversy when WWE first announced that they were doing that, And,
Dave Chappelle went through the same thing because they had the Riyadh Comedy Festival and Dave Chappelle headlined it, and Dave Chappelle had said something about him. And then when he went and did his act, he said that he liked performing there more than America because they weren't going to cancel him. But on the other hand, they make the crowd go. The crowd is not made up of wrestling fans.
I was
the
about
crowd
to say, they're not there.
By choice.
That's a whole nother hot iron in and of itself. But the point being, Punk's out here making these, speeches from the high ground, but then he turns around and is like, "Oh, it's rules for thee, but not for me." I mean, I crapped on you for doing this, but if I do it, it's not a big deal.
I say that the $1 Million Man said it the best. Every man's got his price.
Yep.
I'm against Saudi Arabia. I'm not cool with it at all. But if they came and said, "Hey, Dirk, we'll give you $2 million to come do 15 minutes of stand-up," I'm like, when do we leave?
Damn, you're cheap.
It's money.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like you said, every man's got his price, and apparently WWE was able to meet Punk's, and again, I feel like people were so happy initially just to see CM Punk back in WWE that for a lot of people it just kind of flew under the radar of, hey, you know what Punk said about WWE working with this place, right? That just kind of flew under the radar. But I feel like these past few months with some of the other stuff that CM Punk has done, it kind of has gotten people's attention to look back at CM Punk's,
Sammy did the same thing. They wouldn't even allow Sammy in the country.
I was about to say, no, there was a difference.
Times.
There was a difference with Sami Zayn versus CM Punk. It wasn't that Sami Zayn refused to go.
He wasn't allowed to go.
He wasn't allowed to, and that was all because of the fact that he was Syrian. It wasn't even his own.
Yes.
It was literally because he had a nationality of a different country that Saudi Arabia didn't like, so they just said he's not allowed here. Which, again, that's another messed up thing, which obviously is screwed up. And then, of
now
course,
they're cool with Syria.
And then, of course, the first Saudi Arabian event, they wouldn't even allow the women to come.
No.
They wouldn't even allow the women to come.
And they make them wear those pajamas and...
Yeah. But, again, that's just the whole thing. And to me, that's one of the... Looking back, that's obviously like I said, one of the biggest hypocrisies of CM Punk. You sit there and make that moral grandstand about Saudi Arabia, but then you turn around and you main evented the pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia with John Cena. But that's only the first thing in this video, so let's see what they have next for us.
While people can change their opinions, Punk has never meaningfully explained why his position changed. It's therefore understandable that some fans believe he only objected to WWE's relationship with Saudi Arabia when he was not personally benefiting from it. This isn't the only incident where Punk seemed to have a change of opinion when it was beneficial to him. In the early 2010s, Punk became critical of The Rock when the People's Champion started making a few WWE while still being placed at the top of the card. In an interview, Punk stated, "I've been very vocal about The Rock coming back and cherry-picking the days he comes in."
Is the video freezing for you too?
We're having issues with that. Yeah, we're having issues with that video, so we're just going to talk about it and move on to the next situation here.
Yeah.
The next thing
But,
we got to talk about.
The point that he was getting into there, obviously, was him criticizing The Rock for his limited appearances, but staying on top of the card, winning championships, and things of that nature. The same thing Brock Lesnar did. Guys like Undertaker who were doing that. and he criticized them for doing so. Fast forward to July. CM Punk has been out of WWE the television since losing the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania. The second he walks back in the door, he is put right into a championship match, comes right back in, takes the title from a full-time guy who's been busting his ass at the company for over 10 years. He only just won the title.
And he makes that decision. Oh, I'm just going to come in here and take the title. He don't make that decision.
Nope.
You can't sit there and say he doesn't have anything to do it because you already know higher up guys in WWE have some creative control over how they're portrayed and what they do. You already know that. That's not some hidden secret. That's been a thing in WWE for years and still is a thing. Top guys are given some at bare minimum some creative control.
Yeah, he didn't make that decision.
The last full creative control I think was Hogan. I don't think anyone else. I haven't heard of it since Hogan having full creative control. That wasn't his decision. That's just the company thought that they would sell SummerSlam.
They'd make more money with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes than they would Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And how did that turn out at SummerSlam?
They made more money than they would have with Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
They didn't even trust Sami Zayn to be in a singles match. They didn't trust Sami Zayn to be in the singles match because they put him in the 4-way.
And guess what? Sami Zayn had a better match in 10 minutes than Punk and Cody had in 30.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I do. If you're going to sit there and tell me that no-sell car crash that Punk and Cody put on was somehow a better match than the actual good wrestling and storytelling.
I fell asleep during it, so I can't.
See what I mean? You fell asleep during Cody and Punk.
I didn't buy the pay-per-view to watch Finn Balor and Sami Zayn.
No.
Even one-on-one, I'd take that match over what we got from Punk and Cody. Absolutely.
But to me, that's the reason why CM Punk got the belt, because Sami Zayn's not money. He's not going to draw money. He's not going to make money. So they had to put the belt on somebody that is. It's a money business, and if you ain't making money, they gave him the title because he was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia paid for him to get that championship.
100%. 100%.
And again,
that was the only reason.
I've already said this before. I'm not going to sit here and say that Sami Zayn draws Punk money, but to sit there and say Sami doesn't draw at all, that's just blasphemous. Sami Zayn absolutely draws. If he didn't draw at all, he wouldn't be in the damn company. He wouldn't even be in the mid card. He'd be performing. He'd be performing on WWE Superstars and main event. He'd be performing on Superstars and main event if he wasn't actually a draw. He is a draw, and you don't always need to have a Punk always holding on to the title, because if you always just keep, because that's the thing people are complaining about now, and it's one of the things we'll get to when we get to the Triple H stuff, about them complaining about always seeing the same 3 or 4 guys just rotating the title between the 3 of them, when we're all like, we want to see new faces. This is stale. This is boring.
The difference is the wrestling fans like ourselves that enjoy Sami Zayn, they already have our money. We're going to watch it no matter what. They want the guy that stopped watching wrestling 10 years ago, or the guy that only watches wrestling every 6 months. That's who their target audience is. They're going to get our money. They already got it. They already
got our money. They know they're getting our money.
So
they don't give a damn how we think or what we like. They're trying to draw in, just like Dirk said, to somebody that ain't watched wrestling 5-10 years, and maybe we can sit here and bring them back some way.
Yeah, that's why they always Goldberg beating the Fiend. When Goldberg beat the Fiend.
Oh, I remember Goldberg back from the 90s when I was growing up. He's the champion of WWE again.
Maybe I remember is he's the dude who retired Bret Hart because he was reckless. I said it.
Yeah, you would remember that.
Yeah,
a normal any other wrestling fan, somebody that used to watch it for the NWO and shit like that, they're not going to remember that he retired Bret Hart for that. No,
I hated Goldberg when I was 12 years old.
Goldberg's like, oh, he had the streak and he was beating everybody and he was the champ.
I thought he was the shits. I remember him wrestling Raven on Monday Nitro.
I was going to say it was for the U.S. title on Nitro. I remember what you're talking about.
And dude, I was so mad that he beat Raven. I was like, dude, Raven, is so much better. But in
a lot of ways, Raven was a precursor to Bray Wyatt.
And every kid in my class just loved Goldberg. Goldberg was their favorite. And I'm like, why can't you see that this guy sucks? And they're all like, Goldberg, Goldberg, Goldberg.
He was a one-trick pony, spear jackhammer. He was a one-trick pony. Because it wasn't until he got put into the ring with William Regal that he got exposed. That's when he got exposed.
That match.
Soon as he got put in there in the ring with someone who was a old school, world-class, elite wrestler.
But we saw that. The casual fan just out, there's Goldberg beating another dude. Like, it's...
But you can't think about you watching. You got to think about what the regular, normal, casual fans watch.
But here's what's going to happen, though. That's not a sustainable strategy, though, at the end of the day, because whether you're using the Goldberg analogy of, oh, yeah, here's Goldberg, but then he has that trash match that he had with The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia, or if an old-school CM Punk fan sees that CM Punk's back, oh, he's the WWE champion, okay, I'll tune in, and they see that trash fest of a match that happened at SummerSlam, they're going to be like, dear God, this is even worse than it was 10 years ago.
They don't know it's bad.
I'm not watching this.
They don't know it's bad.
Yeah, they don't know it's bad.
They're not in the business. We can sit here and be like, man, that was a terrible
If that was the case,
match was terrible. It was a botch fest.
Dirk.
They're going to be like, what do you mean botch fest? What is that?
Dirk. Trey, if that was the case, SummerSlam wouldn't have been sold as few tickets as it did. If that was true, and the fans couldn't tell that this crap sucked, they would have sold more tickets.
I don't think that
nostalgia. There was nothing nostalgic to bring in a non-casual fan.
I think the low ticket prices. I think it was the ticket prices because
that was a factor too. There was a lot of factors that went into SummerSlam not being a draw at all. But that was one of them for sure. But at the same time, again, if they really wanted to see CM Punk and Brock Lesnar and all the old names that they were familiar with 10, 15 years ago, more people would have probably found a way to scrape that money together to go see their old school favorites again and bring them back in.
Well, if you're a casual fan and you ain't watched it in years, you might want to see CM Punk and Brock Lesnar. But if you go to buy tickets and they're $180 for nosebleed seats, I could go do something else a lot cooler for $180, right?
But yeah, point being, that's just the latest on the CM Punk hypocrisy train for me, and I
wish you'd get off the CM Punk train. Like he
hates CM Punk.
I'm not a CM Punk fan. Call it right here. Here's my hot take.
It is what it is. We've known that, but you got to get over it. Like it's been a while. Well,
see, here's the thing, though. When more stuff keeps happening, that's what keeps it relevant. Like this past episode of SmackDown, you remember how people have been making references to CM Punk being a CM Hogan, right? What did he do during? You know what he did during? He throws in little Hogan. He throws in little references to Hogan anyway. He'll do the ear taunt. He'll even throw in "that don't work for me, brother." Because at the end of the day, and Triple H said it in his promo when he shot on him, because that promo that Punk and Triple H did years ago, that was a shoot. When Triple H said, you don't want change. You don't want something that benefits the business. What you really mean is make CM Punk a star. If it doesn't benefit CM Punk, that's not really what you want. And I think Triple H hit the nail on the head with that one.
CM Punk's my favorite wrestler of all time for one reason. My oldest son, Richie, is 22 years old. And do you know what Richie is? Richie is drug-free, he is alcohol-free, and he is tobacco-free. And that makes him better than you. And he is that because of CM Punk. Because growing up, CM Punk was his hero. And Richie's been straight edge his whole life. He refers to himself as straight edge. It is his thing. So I can't be anything.
And a lot of people is like that. Hey, I'm straight edge. Darby Allin.
Yes.
Darby Allin now, he's straight edge because of CM Punk growing up. That's why he said he's straight edge now. Never touch drugs and don't drink or anything like that. That's because of CM Punk.
And again, though, I guarantee you, if a vodka company or a tobacco company approached Punk with a big enough sponsorship and enough money, he'd sit there and promote and sponsor them and smoke a cig or take a drink right there.
Nah, I don't think he would. His dad was an alcoholic.
He took blood money. He took blood money from a genocidal company. You think he won't take some money from a tobacco company or alcohol company?
Nope. I sure don't.
So alcohol and tobacco is where you say Punk will draw the line, but not blood money from a genocidal company.
The blood money doesn't hit him personally. It's too personal with him with alcohol. It's way too personal.
Well, he won't drink or do drugs. No, not at all.
His parents were like mine.
At this point, I'm like a lot of the other guys in that kind of look at Punk the same way, like the way McIntyre and Seth do. I just don't trust him at this point because I'm just starting to see too many repeating patterns where it's like, I don't feel like I can trust you anymore.
They didn't trust him because of the whole AEW thing, but in the AEW thing, everything Punk said was right.
Oh no, McIntyre and Rollins had issues and were dealing with Punk's hypocrisy long before AEW was ever a thing.
It's because the truth hurts, and he was telling the truth, and they didn't fucking like it.
Oh, dude, I don't like the Young Bucks. I had it out with Nick Jackson on MySpace. Like when they were Generation
Me. Your age there, Dirk.
Like for real, the dudes were. I just didn't like them, and we got into it over a booking fee. We were talking about booking fees, and they were charging a stupid price back then. And I'm like, dude, why are you charging people that much? Like, and I was young. They were just as green back then, and they just thought they were the shit and better than everyone.
Well,
I mean, but they're millionaires and I'm not. So,
how about to say they're EVPs now?
Not anymore. They lost that title.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but speaking of Triple H, that kind of leads into our other big controversy thing because we didn't talk about it during our SummerSlam recap. But Triple H, for the first time, went and had one of those press nights that he hadn't done in a while. And everyone kind of knows he's been avoiding those because the fans kind of call him out on those. And he kind of got called out here. I think we got a video of that. Hopefully that one will play.
While, as this was initially stopped mainly because Triple H was uncomfortable addressing tough topics such as his creative directions, as well as the WWE status in names such as Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon, and sometimes he would even get booed in front of a live crowd, which he certainly didn't like. But rather hilariously, this only occurred for night one of the show, as the comments caused so much backlash that Triple H clearly felt the heat. Triple H opened the floodgates once again with a nonsensical comment which greatly exposed his booking mentality and the standing of several WWE wrestlers right now. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on our new Facebook page. What it takes to be over. The comments Triple H responded to were from Damian Priest, and the former world champion would state that he's sick of seeing the same names pushed to the moon in the company. These comments from Priest were completely justified, and it was rather bold of him to say this publicly, as it could have impacted his standing in the company. In response to Priest, Triple H went on a long and winding rant, and he stated that the top performers in WWE have earned their spot and are selling tickets. Look, I get that. If you're the guy that wants to take the spot, it's frustrating when there's guys above you that have the spot. And that's the thing. We're in a period of time where there's a lot of top performers in top spots that over time have earned those spots and are selling tickets and are incredibly popular. So you really have to do something. The narrative of, it's my turn, I've been here for a while, there's no turns. That's not how it works. You earn a spot. These initial comments, without a doubt, need dissecting. WWE right now is struggling to sell tickets. SmackDown last week barely had 5,000 fans in attendance, and this show had names such as CM Punk and Cody Rhodes featured on the broadcast. the top superstars in the WWE promotion right now. It ultimately means that the product isn't remotely hot, so even established names aren't even moving the needle in terms of ticket sales. Granted, ticket sales remain extremely expensive, yet the top names just aren't moving as many tickets as they were 2 to 3 years ago. Additionally, SummerSlam suffered a similar fate this year. Despite names such as Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar wrestling on the card, the attendance was down significantly compared to last year. The stadium was half empty, and tickets only began to move when WWE reduced ticket prices to $25 a ticket. But this was only done in the later stages of selling the PLE. It was also worth noting that the WWE creative output isn't in the best place right now. WWE has been delivering a subpar product for over a year, and the big names can't save what has been a rough time in the creative department. But Triple H is also a hypocrite for saying this. When he was given his big break in 1999 in the main event scene, it was a hot topic amongst the fans that the game wasn't over enough for a main event level run. Nobody at that time was purchasing a ticket just to see the game in action. Even Stone Cold Steve Austin agreed, and this reportedly contributed to Austin not putting the game over at SummerSlam 1999. This doesn't exclusively apply to Triple H, yet there have been countless times WWE has put names in the main event picture who weren't getting any fan reactions. It always comes down to what the head booker wants to deliver on TV, and to say it's exclusively about popularity and ticket sales is completely disingenuous. Triple H would go on to say that if somebody is getting more over than somebody else, he needs to move them into the spot. He would even add that it's not just linked to the crowd reactions, he has to determine whether they're going to be good in their spot. If somebody's getting over more than somebody else, we move that person into the spot, move the other person down. But it's not just that. It's not just they're getting the loud crowd reaction. Are they going to be good in the spot? Are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Are they going to screw up if we give it to them? Now, when Triple H said this, fans instantly knew who he was talking about. He was talking about LA Knight. Knight has been one of the most over acts in the company for years now, and he still hasn't had a world title reign. It's been theorized that Triple H has a personal dislike of Knight, and this was literally seen on screen with a tense exchange on WWE Unreal. Knight breaks the mold as he's very much like CM Punk was during his initial run, where he spoke his mind, and when he does media, he will openly speak out regarding how lackluster his booking is. Triple H won't like this, and Triple H is clearly talking about Knight here. It was also rumored that Triple H may not like the amount of times LA Knight has botched spots over the years. Yet if WWE can give countless pushes to Jey Uso, who botches on a number of occasions, Knight could easily receive a reign. Knight now finds himself in a world title feud with Roman Reigns, and whilst it's fantastic to see Knight in this role, it's all but guaranteed he's going to lose. The interesting thing about this feud is that Reigns is missing a ton of TV dates next month, so WWE has clearly booked Reigns with Knight, so Knight can build a world title PLE match by himself. Therefore, it's rather interesting that WWE trusts LA Knight to carry a major program by himself, but they don't trust him enough to have a reign as world champion. So how do talent succeed? The game would continue.
Yeah.
That whole long section right there sums it up perfectly. I mean, and they ended with the perfect example. You're going to sit there and say, oh, well, if someone gets over, we put them in the spot that they deserve. Okay, why has LA Knight not been world champion yet? Why has that man not won Money in the Bank? Why has he not won the Royal Rumble? That man should have been world heavyweight champion 6 months ago, at least.
It's a vendetta. Triple H vendetta.
Mm-hmm. And it's very common in wrestling. Like, there have been a lot of people that were really, really over, just not over in the office.
But who was the guy who's the original person that was bitching about this? Damian Priest.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there. He's been a world champion. He didn't draw. He didn't do very good, so they took the belt off of him and put him back down into mid-card.
Karrion Kross got really over right before they just cut his contract. Like, I think they didn't offer his wife a new contract and lowballed him. But he was really over. He was really over right there at the end. He was over when he was in NXT, and then they stuck him with a stupid gimmick when he first came in.
Because the fans wanted to see him, so they're like, all right, let's see what you can do. And then they're like, we're just going to go ahead and cut our losses now.
Yeah.
And see, the problem is, because again, I'm not saying that Damian Priest's World Heavyweight Championship reign was like a 10 out of 10 reign, but we've definitely seen a lot worse top title reigns. Do I need to remind you of King Mabel?
Right, but
Yeah.
I mean, he was not a bad world champion by a lot of metrics. Was he
Mabel?
the biggest draw? I'm talking about Damian Priest.
Oh, okay.
But was he on par with the likes of Seth Rollins when Seth Rollins was world champion? No, but again, I've seen a lot worse for one.
But he's the one that's bitching and complaining. It's like, oh, everybody's always up there doing that. But what kind of merchandise are you and R-Truth selling right now?
Bro, R-Truth is a merch seller. Don't sit there and say R-Truth's not a merch seller. Wrong.
What merchandise is he selling?
Bro, you cannot.
No. What merchandise have you seen them advertise for R-Truth and Damian Priest that they're selling right now? Don't sit there and say,
they don't have to advertise R-Truth. They don't have to advertise R-Truth. People know and love R-Truth and are willing to get his merchandise.
He's not
selling
merch.
He's not on that top 10 list.
He's not selling merch.
Danhausen selling merch. And they're using Danhausen on everything.
And see, this is the problem with WWE, though. They have someone who will obviously is a situation like a Danhausen who is selling a bunch of merch, but then when you run that horse into the ground, you make it stale. And then that person no longer moves merchandise.
And they go find somebody else that'll move more merchandise.
Yeah, they already made their money off of it.
If you have a group of guys who are over and you let them cycle, when you have a group of them who are all over and you don't keep forcing just one specifically down every single person's throat, that person won't go stale. But the point back to Damian Priest was, though, you could have avoided that whole situation with Damian being the world champion because you know who else was in that Money in the Bank ladder match that Damian Priest won that everyone wanted to win? LA Knight. That was the one everyone was predicting LA Knight was going to win. And they went with Damian. And that was kind of, in a way, you could say the beginning of Triple H's booking where he'll book just to get a reaction moment, just so he can say that they did something that the fans weren't predicting, just to turn around and have it not mean much later on. And case in point, they're doing it even now to this day, right now. You remember how we talked about how the six-man bloodline match was going to end up meaning nothing?
But
lo and behold, here we are a week later, and despite the fact that LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys won the six-man, Royce got taken out and is just brutalized by Jacob Fatu in a street fight. Solo Sikoa has now lost to Jey Uso and is just going to go right back to the bloodline. And LA Knight is being thrown into another pointless world title feud where he's going to have to carry because apparently Roman's not going to be there. And he's going to end up losing because obviously a guy at the tier level of Roman is not going to drop the World Heavyweight Championship at any pay-per-view other than a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier. The first 10 years, Roman was on the top of the card. He was horrible. The hardcore fans did not like Roman. They didn't accept Roman. But the casual fans, oh man, did you see Roman Reigns? Roman, big dog, like.
You can't sit there and say the casual fans like Roman Reigns during that time because literally especially in like from 2017 to right into late 2019, right before he announced his leukemia diagnosis, that period of late 2016 to late 2018, dude was getting booed out of the building bigger than any heel on the roster.
Yeah, he selling tickets, making money.
They weren't there to see Roman though, because they didn't want Roman.
They were there to see Roman get his ass whipped, and they were sitting there all day long.
Roddy Piper said it the best. Roddy Piper said, "Did WrestleMania 1 sell because people wanted to see Hulk Hogan? Or did WrestleMania 1 sell because they wanted to see Hulk Hogan beat Roddy Piper's ass?"
Yeah.
Well, the difference is Roddy Piper was intentionally working as a heel. They were trying to make Roman into some Jason Momoa, Superman, good boy, Samoan babyface when that's the exact opposite of what Roman Reigns is as a person.
Yeah,
and obviously,
I disagree because I think that first version of Roman Reigns was a lot like Aquaman.
Well, again, I'm talking about it wasn't good for Roman because it wasn't natural for him. The tribal chief.
It wasn't.
The tribal chief. That's natural for Roman, and that's why people love it. It's organic. Now we're seeing who Roman Reigns really is and what he can do, and it's like, okay, now we see how good this guy really is. Now that he's able to spread his wings, if you will, and do his own thing, and we like this. Not whatever.
But he was the hand-picked guy. You know, they picked their one guy, just like the Goldbergs and the Brocks.
And he had to learn the gimmick. He had to learn it and figure it out, and then he got it. It's not just going to come automatically. Like,
no, obviously it's not. But it's a lot easier to come to you when you're doing stuff that feels natural to you instead of trying to be and do something that you're not.
I mean, you hate CM Punk, but Obafemi did nothing to earn the match with Brock. He's just big, and the casual fans gonna look at it. Look at that big ass dude with Brock.
Look, all right. So I got a buddy that rides with me to work in the mornings. He doesn't watch wrestling at all. Doesn't watch no wrestling. And I was like, "Yo, let me show you this clip right here. Just let me show you this clip of this dude right here. Like, just give me your opinion." And I showed him a clip of Obafemi and his entrance and all that. And he was like, "Yo," he was like, "That's a big dude." He was like,
"Right."
He's a built like a wall. There ain't nobody that can whip him. He was like, I said, would you watch something for Obafemi? He was like, hell yeah, because I'm expecting him to go out there and whoop somebody's ass. He was like, there ain't no way he can be beat, and he has no clue about wrestling at all. So it's
but I mean that is the exact way they book Obafemi. Outside of Brock Lesnar, no one has even come close to even challenging Obafemi in terms of kayfabe, in character in the ring. Everyone else has just been brutalized by Obafemi because
that's what we're saying. It's perception of the casual fan on how they look at wrestlers.
But now, Dirk, you say, Obafemi didn't deserve the spotlight he's getting. Rewind the clocks back to 2002. Did Brock Lesnar deserve that big push he got at the start of his career?
Nope. No, not at all.
He was big.
But he's big. He
was big.
And monster.
Like, we can call you the next big thing. Oh, here we go. Look,
that was all Paul Heyman. That was all Paul Heyman. Vince even straight up said, "Damn it, Paul, that nickname would suck."
Damn the difference. It don't matter. Like, he was big. And even Paul Heyman said, I knew first time I he was like, when did you know that Brock Lesnar was going to be $1 million? He said, the first time I laid eyes on Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because he had followed Brock before he was in WWE. When he said he even watched Brock win the NCAA Division I Heavyweight Championship, but also the original group of guys who were producers and stuff like that at WWE, they straight up wanted Brock to be like your standard, generic, stereotypical big man, and just
they wanted him to be a Russian at first.
Exactly, they wanted him to be a Russian, and it was Taz who saw what was happening, talked to Brock, and said, "Look, brother, they're giving you the wrong advice, brother. You don't want to do this. Here, I want you to come talk to my friend here." And brings over Paul Heyman. Taz explains the situation to Paul, and Paul is the one who had to step in, and because if they weren't, they were going to ruin Brock Lesnar before he even got started.
Again, so we can compare it to Obo because the whole way he talks and everything's not real. It's a work. He's got a really country accent, but the foreigner menacing.
And I got a buddy says he does the Urkel strut.
Have you heard the interview about where he said where he got that strut from?
We all have a mutual friend who says that if you slow down his strut, it's like Urkel walking into the house.
It does.
But have you seen where he went on Stephanie's podcast that he says where he got the idea to do at least some sort of a strut? He got the idea from Ric Flair. Because he was like, all these guys like back in the day, like Ric Flair would strut to the ring. He was like, I should come up with some kind of strut to do. And I mean, hey, it got over.
No, he never
got
did.
over.
He did it in the middle of the ring during the during the match.
But anyway, we got sidetracked there off of Triple H. Let's get back to Triple H here.
By sharing his personal experience running WWE Creative, he stated that he's seen talent succeed because of what they do, not because of creative. I've seen a million talents succeed because of what they do, not because of our storyline creative that they gave them the spot. 99% of the time in this business, the person gets over, then gets the push. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. You gotta do then, we follow it, because otherwise, most of the time, they will choke on it if it's not what the fans believe in. And this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Triple H is basically saying that talent can succeed without the creative team getting behind them? And how the hell is this supposed to work in practice? If a wrestler is becoming popular, but they aren't being featured in major storylines, how the hell is that supposed to ultimately lead to a push? Right now, Triple H is really starting to act and sound like Vince McMahon in certain aspects of his booking philosophy. When McMahon ran WWE, he resented the fact that wrestlers got over on their own. Names such as Daniel Bryan, Rusev, Zack Ryder, and even names such as Becky Lynch weren't WWE manufactured acts in the sense that they weren't supposed to get over to the level they did. When it comes to names such as Daniel Bryan, McMahon loathed the fact that Bryan got over on his own, so much so that he purposely tried to manipulate the audience and have the Big Show take over Bryan's gimmick. Naturally, it backfired, and due to the crowd response, WWE had no choice but to commit to Bryan being the guy for a brief period. Whilst nothing like this has happened yet in the Triple H era, it'd be interesting to see how LA Knight would be booked if he ever receives a run with the world title. Will Triple H purposely sabotage the reign, or will he let him shine? Triple H finished his comments by stating that if a wrestler wants a spot, they just need to take it. Naturally, this has also led to criticism, as again, if wrestlers aren't featured in roles, how are they supposed to take a spot? It's not possible in any way, and Triple H has been around long enough to know that this isn't how pro wrestling works, and it will never be how the pro wrestling world works. The game will then ask if any of the names fans are rooting for are more over than the list of names, and this once again brought the discussion back to LA Knight. Big believer in if you want the spot, go take it. It's all there for anyone to take. Whenever anybody says, I don't know why I'm not in that spot, are you more over than Cody? More over than Roman? Punk? Liv? EO? People in that spot? Get there. Make those crowd reactions. Whatever you need to make it happen, that's what we're all here for. And Knight is without a doubt as over as any of these names listed. And you could even argue that names such as Finn Balor, Penta, and Chad Gable are over as some of the names Triple H referenced here. Fans have also been quick to call out Triple H's booking of Bron Breakker. Breakker was incredibly over with the crowd, and just a year ago, he could literally receive a thunderous reaction just by looking at the camera in a certain way. Breakker has been demoted to a lackey in the Vision, but whilst it looks like he's going to be rebuilt with a program with Obafemi, Triple H needs to address why the company has dropped the ball with him so hard. At one point in time, he was being labeled as the next John Cena. In 2026, he's been eclipsed by Obafemi in every single way. The chances of Breakker now becoming the face of the company seem extremely slim, yet who knows where the trajectory of WWE is going to go. So what is...
Alright.
I don't agree with that last statement.
Which part? Which part? Like the whole thing, or which part specifically?
No, the last part of that statement where he said Bron Breakker. I mean, yeah, Obafemi's overtaking Bron Breakker right now, but Obafemi and Bron Breakker is going to be a damn hell of a feud for the next damn 10, 15 damn years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
it is.
You got Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and those guys right now, but when those guys are done,
they won't be here.
It's going to be Obafemi and Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed and guys like that. So, you know, I don't agree with that last statement right there. They'll both be world champions.
That's true, but I think the point he was trying to drive home is the way that they made sure to build Oba up. They started to build Bron Breakker up,
and then
but then they
stopped.
just stopped, and he's been nothing basically. He's literally just.
But didn't he get hurt?
Yeah. I think that was part of it because he had like a herniated disc or something when he flipped an announce table or something. Yeah. But even before that, and even after that, he won that match he had with Seth Rollins. What PLE was it? Night of Champions, where they had that steel cage match. Bron Breakker should have won that match, but no, they put Seth over because it was right after that Seth went into the world title picture. That should have been Bron Breakker. That should not have been Seth Rollins winning that steel cage match. And like you said, Braun Breaker's been reduced to just being a lackey in the Vision. Because what's the centerpiece of the Vision now? It's just Austin Theory, a charisma vacuum of a wrestler in the ring who is just got, a gorgeous looking valet on his arm now to make out with to get, some sort of arousal from the Reddit wrestling fans on screen. Which is really, and also that's a demotion to Maxine Dupree. Because when she was with Alpha Academy and that initial run with Alpha Academy, the whole point was to help coach her. It was a gimmick thing, but it was also a real thing, you could say, where they're trying to help coach and get Maxine come from front of a crowd, teaching her how to properly wrestle, run the ropes and all that. And she was getting over organically. I mean, the pop she got when she beat Becky for the women's Intercontinental title.
But you couldn't keep her with the fat guy and the foreigner.
And she needs to learn how to be a heel. So now she's working as a heel.
But if you need to learn how to be a heel, maybe you should do that with someone who actually has a personality. If your whole goal is to teach someone how to be a heel, maybe don't put them with someone who has less charisma and ability on a microphone than her. Because Maxine Dupree has been in WWE for how long?
I have no idea.
Couple years.
Couple years or so at most.
Yeah.
That promo she cut on Chad Gable right before she turned heel, that was a better promo than anything Austin Theory has ever said on a microphone, and she sounded way more organic. Meanwhile, Theory just sounds like a damn robot. How are you supposed to teach her how to be a heel when she's the better heel of the duo?
I mean, but Theory's Vince's pick.
Vince ain't there.
His son-in-law is. His son-in-law's there. You don't think it's Sunday dinner? He's like, brother. Yeah.
How's Austin Theory doing over there?
Again, though, we already had, because we talked about this at the last episode. Triple H cares about his guys, not Vince's guys. He cares about his guys. Austin Theory is not a Triple H guy.
Well, I mean, is that true?
Who's the Triple H guys?
Right.
Seth Rollins, Rhea Ripley.
Aleister Black used to be a Triple H guy.
Yeah.
And he came back from AEW when Triple H was the boss, didn't do nothing. And now
Karrion Kross, Andrade.
They were all
people think those were all Triple H guys because they were all associated with the black and gold brand of NXT.
No, but they were Triple H guys because he brought them in when he got moved up to the big spot. He brought them all back.
At the time, the Revival.
Yep. He still wants them.
He wants FTR to come back.
Vince destroyed the Revival. By God Almighty. And I hate it for him, too.
Well, Vince didn't like tag team wrestling. Vince never really liked tag team
wrestling. He never liked tag team wrestling.
Sometimes I wonder if Triple H does, because half the time he seems
it doesn't look like it.
Half the time he wants to commit to the tag team division and make it some of the greatest wrestling programming on all of WWE, but then the other half of the year, the tag team division is non-existent, and we get stuck with guys like Austin Theory being one half of the tag champs. But let's get into
Triple H's mentality. The game would note that he loves the mentality of wrestlers being upset, as it makes them work harder. This comment is also short-sighted, as it doesn't always happen. CM Punk was upset in 2014 and he walked out of the company, which of course didn't lead him to working harder in any capacity. Dominic Mysterio, despite last year being one of the most over acts in the entire company, now finds himself in a rut. Mysterio defeated John Cena in Cena's final PLE match last year, and since then, his career has gone downhill. Mysterio is now showing up to SummerSlam looking completely dejected as he's about to wrestle a comedic character in a gimmick, something straight out of WCW 2000. It's been reported that Mysterio is legit upset with WWE creative, but he doesn't understand why his Triple H presentation is so much different. Mysterio is even referencing his dissatisfaction with his booking via X, and it looks like WWE is now punishing him with a losing streak on television. What's Triple H's reasoning for this? He stated at SummerSlam that a wrestler just needs to get over and have good matches. Mysterio was doing just that, so what's the excuse? The game would likely try to incorporate X factors such as injuries into his answer, yet virtually every name he mentioned as being insanely over have suffered major injuries, and they didn't remotely lose their place on the card. Ultimately, it was just a stupid answer from Triple H that doesn't hold up in any capacity. Triple H should have probably said that he understands the frustration from names such as Priest, and he will do his best to give talent opportunities with the TV time the WWE's allocated. He could have even put Priest and other names over by addressing their work in a positive manner, and he could have spun it to make it look like he has one insanely over roster, and everyone could be next to reach the top. Triple H just can't seem to handle these questions from the media. It's hardly a surprise that he tries to deliver as few as humanly possible. What do you guys think of Triple H's comments?
All right. That Dominic Mysterio stuff, man.
Dom was so over. Dom had Vicky Guerrero heat. He couldn't even talk on the mic.
And the dude was amazing in the ring.
Yep.
He was a heat magnet. Didn't matter what he did. He was getting the exact reaction that he wanted to get. And that's the kind of meteoric heat you just cannot teach. You can't teach that. And again, just like WrestleMania said there, one of his last big matches was he beat John Cena in John Cena's very last PLE match for the Intercontinental title. That's a huge rub from the biggest name over the last 2 decades. Yeah. And then immediately after that, what is Triple H doing with essentially a combined version of the second coming of both Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero? What does he do with this once-in-a-generation talent? He puts him in stupid gimmick matches with a comedy wrestler in Danhausen.
Because
if you want to do
it over.
Yeah.
If you want to do, I'm not saying the comedy stuff with Danhausen isn't funny, entertaining, and isn't a draw in some ways, but that's not where you put your Dominic Mysterios at. That's where you can put your other lower mid-card guys to do stuff like that. That's where you put your Kit Wilsons. You don't put your Dominic Mysterio in that position. You know what Dominic Mysterio should have been doing at SummerSlam? He should have been in something like a Fatal 4-Way, showcasing 3 other big names from AAA in a Fatal 4-Way for the Mega Championship of AAA. How great of a match would that have been? And a much more respectable spot for a guy like Dominic Mysterio, because he's another guy that you can loop in with the Oba Femis, the Braun Breakers, and the Trick Williams. That kid is the future of WWE for at least the next 10 years. The kid is literally my age. I'm 28. So if he's also 28, if he wants to go till he's 50, you can get 25 years out of that kid. And he's already a big star now. Imagine how much bigger of a star he could be in 5 years if they would have kept booking him properly.
Yeah. Hey. I mean, I don't know.
But that's the thing. Nobody can. I don't think any, because I feel like nobody can come up with a reasonable explanation for why Triple H is doing this to a guy like Dominic. Because all 3 of us are sitting here like, yes, we all clearly see how great Dom is.
It's where, like, I got the hatred for Oberfemi because I see him the same way I saw Goldberg. He's in that spot, but I accept that for what it is. When it comes to Dom
was also a lot safer than Goldberg.
Dom is over, over.
Oh,
like it. If you put him in front of the casual fan's gonna like him. He's gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but he's not gonna have that championship long. Like that championship, no. He's getting ready to lose that championship. And we know that we're going to call. I'd call it like he's going to lose that championship, the El Grande Americano at their little 2-night pay-per-view that they have, and then he's going to come back. He's had his little run in AAA, so he's good with that. So, what has he got here? That's all he had. Like he don't. He's probably
going to talk to Dad and talk to Uncle Taker and be like, "Hey, can y'all just let me work full-time down there with you guys in AAA?" Because like we said before, Taker knows what he's doing down there in AAA.
Yeah, AAA is good, but AAA is not going to be the money that the main roster WWE is.
Maybe so, but at the same time, as the old saying goes, if your work is making you that miserable and you're that dejected to be there, is it worth it in the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they're paying him millions of dollars.
They got in Mexico. They're getting all the Mexico money there, and they have little one-offs. Like they got the tournament for Roman Reigns to defend his championship against somebody from AAA. It's either going to be Penta or Dom, one of the two, if Dom's able to get himself thrown in there. But it's going to be Penta. But do you actually really think Penta's going to win the championship in Mexico against Roman Reigns?
No. Not a chance.
Not going to happen. But it's going to showcase Penta, and it's going to make Penta look really, really good.
The best thing for Dom to be, he probably just needs to leave and go to AEW. Because they would let him run, and he'd get the world title in AEW. They'd put him over. Yeah, and then he'd be a big star, and when he came back, they would treat him like a star.
He'd be in the Intercontinental Championship run. I mean, I see him feud with Chad Gable, maybe. But I don't. What do you do with Dom? I don't see Dom being in the World Championship picture.
Chad Gable's another name. Chad Gable. Nobody's better in the ring than Chad Gable. And he's legit. Oh, you can't say Chad Gable's not over. Like over.
Not after his run as El Grande Americano, then the match he had in AAA, the unmasking, and then the run he's had since. Yeah,
he was over before then.
Oh yeah,
like he's been good at everything he's done.
Like honestly, like right now, puppy. Honestly, right now, I could honestly see because I don't know if y'all saw on Monday Night Raw, Chad Gable's going to defend the Intercontinental title against Rey Mysterio on Raw in Mexico, right? What I think's going to happen, I think Chad Gable's first big rival for the title is probably going to be Dominic Mysterio, because I think Dom's going to like interfere or something like that, you know, because he hates his dad and whatnot.
He's going to cost his dad the championship.
Yeah, and then obviously Chad's going to stick up for Ray because of his new, you know, the whole newfound respect for luchadors thing, and that's going to turn into a feud between Chad and Dominic. And while that's going to be fantastic, I can't wait to see that match. God, I hope they give us that match. At the same time, I highly doubt they're going to throw the Intercontinental title back on Dom for a third time so soon. After Chad only just won it, he only just got a hold of it, and two, it's like that's all Dom has done when it comes to title pictures in WWE. He held the NXT North American Championship for a brief moment in the early run of the Judgment Day. Then he won the Intercontinental title at Mania 40. Was it 40 or 41?
One of them.
Yeah, it was one of them.
It was 41. I remember. It was 41.
Right. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah.
Well, their whole thing has been they haven't made any new stars in years. Oba's probably the first person to be, you know, we're trying to legit build a star here.
Trick Williams?
They're not pushing. He's not getting I'm talking main event level.
He's getting main event rub.
When's the last person that they've just been using the same people? Cody and Punk and Roman.
They started to do that. They started to do that with Dominic Mysterio, like we said, right after, because he beat John Cena in his last PLE appearance for a championship. That's a big main event rub right there. Then they just did nothing with it.
They started doing it with Braun Breaker.
Yep. And just cut it off.
Just cut it off at the heels. And then he started losing to Seth Rollins when, again, Seth did not need that win inside that steel cage. Braun Breaker needed that win.
Yeah.
Especially coming back from an injury. He needed that win. Because otherwise now you've just invalidated the whole reason for the Vision turning on Seth. Their whole reason for turning on Seth was, oh, we don't need Seth. He's holding us back. He's holding us down. Okay, well, kayfabe-wise, when you were with Seth, you were involved in the world title picture because he was holding the world championship. You were sniffing main event, big match statuses and stuff like that. When you kick Seth out, what have you been doing since then? Floating around on the mid card. You brought in a charisma vacuum in Austin Theory and a new valet because Paul Heyman said, "Yeah, I'm not bothering with this. I'm out."
Yeah, they just haven't made any new stars. And AEW, on the other hand, they took someone like Swerve Strickland, who was in WWE doing nothing, and they legit made him Swerve Strickland's a main eventer. Like MJF, homegrown talent for AEW, but they took a young guy, and he's now a legit main eventer.
I would say he's not. I would say he's not just a legit main eventer. I would say he's overall the absolute best professional wrestler in America.
I agree.
Hands down.
I agree.
Nobody can touch him on the mic. There's hardly a damn soul that you can put in there with the ring with him.
Yeah. He doesn't have to go in there and do stupid stuff in the ring to get the match over. Like
just that simple little bass guitar riff is enough to get a crowd cheering.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's a heel, they love him because they recognize this is a once in a lifetime star. And WWE, quite frankly, they need guys like that.
And
you need guys like an MJF.
And you know who's been in his ear?
In whose ear?
MJF. You know who's been in his ear? CM Punk.
Yeah.
And MJF also called out and said that CM Punk's a hypocrite.
He was working, though.
See, that's the thing with MJF. He does a lot. Again, what I've said before, he works the shoot. MJF works the shoot.
I love that about him. He treats it like it's real 24/7.
Yeah, and that's why I believe MJF when he says he does not like CM Punk, because he also feels like CM Punk is a piece of shit and a hypocrite.
He thinks everybody's a piece of shit.
Yeah, everybody.
You ask him about anybody, whoever he's talking about, it's a piece of shit. It doesn't matter who it is.
The difference is, though, he'll usually, like, if it's just a work, it'll be a little bit more, I don't want to say cartoony, but at the same time, you know when you can like just feel that difference in someone's tone when they're talking about someone?
I've talked to guys that are backstage and know MJF, and I've told that he's the biggest professional. He is the nicest guy in the world. And in the locker room, like, you wouldn't know,
I mean, there's already been examples of that. We already knew how great of a professional he was, because while guys like the Bucks and Kenny and Tony were all in their feelings about the way CM Punk left and all this, that, and the other, MJF didn't give a shit. MJF was like, okay, he's gone in WWE.
Because once the camera's on him or there's some fan around, he trips it into MJF mode. He's Maxwell Jacob Freeman, and he's better than you, and you know it.
But like you said, though, he's still a professional. And again, we've even seen that in public on camera. Like when he had that interaction with John Cena at that what was that red carpet movie premiere? It was at some sort of red carpet premiere for a movie. They were both at it, and
you think they're going to be fighting to be an asshole at a red carpet premiere and say, "Hey, fuck you, John Cena"?
You got to remember, this is the same guy who looked at a handicapped kid in a wheelchair, and when the handicapped kid said, "Well, what can you do that I can't?" MJF just looked at him and stood up and said this.
If MJF
you're talking about a guy who did that now, Trey, now.
If he insults CM Punk on interviews and all this, if he ever comes to WWE, you know what they can do with him and CM Punk? They can make money.
There's money.
Well, there's a reason the first big feud that CM Punk had in AEW was MJF. There's a reason for that.
And it was money. What feud has been that good?
Done.
Oh my God.
Best feud AEW ever had.
And I was talking about it. We were talking about promos the other day. Promos need to feel real. The best wrestling it feels real. CM Punk, the pipe bomb, that was a work. It's a work shoot, but it was a work. But he blurred that line. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, everyone knew they didn't like each other.
Oh yeah,
they used it to make money. They blurred that line. You didn't know if it was real or fake.
Matt Hardy and Edge.
Yes,
Hardy and Edge over Lita.
Like it felt so real that you don't know if it's real or fake. That's the best wrestling. That's that makes you. MJF said it, I'm the only one that can make you feel. And I don't have to go do something stupid in the ring to do it.
Well, except when he wants to do a moonsault.
You know,
I couldn't resist that one.
and you don't have those guys that do that anymore. You don't have anyone standing out having that stone cold moment.
Right.
You know?
Nobody that blurs the line like everybody's when it's wrestling time. Oh, I'm the wrestler. And then when the show's over and everybody else, oh, hey, let's go hang out. Da, 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 and all happy. No.
Oh, dude, they'll do it online. Like you'll see, like I hate it so much when we talk about how much of a family we are and how much we love each other. People don't want to pay money to see that.
Nah,
people want to see two grown men fight.
We're not here to sing Kumbaya around the campfire. We want the drama. We want all the violence, and we want to see it all settled in the ring. Yeah. And again, as much as I have my issues with Punk, I will admit that that is one thing that Punk does, because that's the whole point. He makes me feel the way I feel about him. You know, that says something. And again, I will admit that. I will absolutely admit that. He makes me feel the way I feel about him, but that's your job as a wrestler to at least try to get some sort of emotional reaction out of me. You know, and he does.
I hated the Young Bucks when they had the EVP thing and dressing. I couldn't stand the Young. I'm like, and I was talking to another one of my buddies. He's like, I can't stand them, and he said, "Why?" And I was like, "Cause look how they fucking act. Like they're absolutely terrible." Da 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 da. And he was like, "But they're making you hate them, aren't they?"
Yep.
Especially when they're a heel.
I was like, shut up. I said, I don't want to lie. He was like, but they're doing their job. They're making you hate them. Like you hate them because of what they're doing. It's not because of how you feel about them personally. It's like what they're doing on TV is making you hate them. So they're doing their job.
And I'll also admit part of my biases against the Young Bucks is more so because I'm a regular listener of the drive-through, so
I am too.
I listen to a lot of Jim Cornette. Okay, so
I didn't like the Young Bucks before Jim Cornette.
I didn't either.
You know,
but
so before I started listening to his podcast, but I wasn't a fan of the Young Bucks or Generation Me. I did that one. I went to an AEW show and they came out and I screamed out Generation Me and they kind of looked and were like, what? Who said that? But
at the end of the day, there's it just seems like lately there's just been over the week there was just a whole lot of stuff popping off wrestling related for WWE that I was like, I feel like we had to talk about this today. You know, the Avery Styles stuff, the CM Punk stuff, because that's been picking up some steam lately. And then, of course, Triple H and opening his mouth in that interview and saying what he said. Oh, man.
I mean, I can't kind of not disagree with him a little bit. Some of the
Triple H,
they said it was true.
Well, also, again, if Triple H was living up to everything he was saying, LA Knight would have been a world champion by now. You know.
But that goes to the whole thing I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you got to kiss a little bit of ass. And you can tell when you go back there and you're being difficult. Like, if I don't like you and I legit don't like you, I'm still going to be nice to you because that's the professional thing to do. Like, I'm not going to go into back.
You draw more flies of honey than you do with vinegar.
But at the same time, at the end of the day, if I'm a businessman, even if personally, say I'm running a promotion and Dirk, say you're my top star, but personally, you and me, we hate each other's guts. But at the end of the day, you draw me money. I'm not going to sit there and let, because I just don't personally like you, stop me from me making you the champion, for example. Because at the end of the day, you being champion gives me money, and at the same time, it gives you a little bit more money, right? So, business-wise, fuck your feelings, fuck my feelings. This is a business. We're here to make money. If you're the guy who's going to make me the most money, then you're the guy that I'm putting on top.
You working in the corporate world, you know that don't happen like that.
No, it don't. Not even close.
And then
you got to kiss somebody.
And then you wonder why.
you can sit there and try to move up all you want to, and move up and try, and they're gonna pass you up because you're not kissing somebody's ass.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, they wonder why things don't work out the way they expect them to. They wonder why they didn't make as much money as they could have, or this, that, and the third. Or some companies just straight up, close down from it. Like any company can go under.
So when Zack Ryder, when he got himself over doing all that stuff, did he deserve to have the world title?
Did he deserve to have the world title right there in that moment? No, but he deserved to be like, hey, they needed to start taking a lot more serious look at him as opposed to just being a lower mid-card comedy gimmick. But because Vince didn't like the fact that he got over outside of WWE's influence, what did Vince do with him? He buried Zack Ryder. He killed Zack Ryder.
He came off on his videos as a comedy gimmick.
He did.
But he got himself over, though.
As a comedy gimmick.
Yep.
So they put him in what he made himself out to be.
And then what did Matt Cardona do after leaving WWE?
But does Matt Cardona deserve the world championship?
He's already held. He was NWA World's Champion already, wasn't he?
That don't count.
Like, he's already held other titles and showed, hey, I can be a top level talent draw. It's the same reason when guys like Nick Aldis come in from like TNA and NWA, where they were top stars outside of WWE, but the second they get to WWE acts like, oh, none of that matters. We don't know. Like they literally act like they're living in a box, and anything that happens outside of the box doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that's insulting to the fans' intelligence. That's why they'll get mad when they see guys like a Nick Aldis come to WWE, and fans who know, they're like, hey, this is the guy who carried NWA. This is the guy who held that title nearly as long as Roman Reigns held the WWE title. Clearly, this is going to be a guy who gets pushed right into the main event scene, surely. But then they just don't.
You going back to...
I didn't get NWA on my TV. I had to search for it and find it to be able to watch NWA.
But they've already proven that it does, that you can still do that, and it does work. Even if immediately most of the general WWE audience might not immediately know. Look at AJ Styles. The way AJ Styles came into WWE, he didn't come up through NXT. He didn't come up and start as a mid-carder. He was treated like a big deal from the moment he arrived in the Royal Rumble back in 2016. And immediately, he's feuding with Chris Jericho and leading into WrestleMania. He's challenging for the WWE World Championship. He's beating up John Cena. He's beating him at SummerSlam. He ends up winning the title from Dean Ambrose, carries it all the way to next year's Royal Rumble where he drops it to John Cena, circles back around, wins the U.S. title 2 or 3 times, wins the world title a second time, and then has one of the greatest matches of the decade with Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, carries the title for another year after that, becomes a Grand Slam champion from the moment. But you see how much I had to list there just for the 10 years AJ's been in WWE? And it's because he was treated like that from the moment he got there. And that proves that you can do this with other wrestlers, like a Nick Aldis or someone who's a big deal outside of WWE. Sure, the general WWE populace might not immediately know who this person is, but that doesn't mean that it's only a small section of the fan base that does know them, because that's not true at all. It's because, again, if you act like that at least a good portion of the fans don't know, you're insulting the fans' intelligence. They're not all stupid.
No, but they already have their money. They want the money of the casual fan. Like, my first 10 years in wrestling, I was a comedy act. BD Productions was a comedy tag team. I don't know if y'all knew that. You'd seen us then, but
I worked you a few times. I know.
yeah. We were a comedy tag team. I didn't, deserve to ever be a world champion. I might have been a little serious there to end. After wrestling, I became a stand-up comedian. Now, when I go do a comedy show, do they expect me to go talk about politics and be, you got to know your role. Like, in some people's role is just the middle of the card.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're make it to WWE and you're getting paid great money, that's all that matters.
See, I also have this mentality though that I saw this from another interview with Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman has what I feel like is a really good mindset for the way you should have a roster. You should have a roster full of nothing but main eventers, right? Like that's the way ECW was. You looked at ECW. I mean, ECW was full of legends. Like when you look back at ECW, it was nothing but some of the greatest names in wrestling from that era. But the way he said you do that is obviously you don't start with a whole card of main eventers. That's why he said you have it like, okay, I've got 2 beginners, I've got 4 mid-carders, and then I got my 2 main eventers. Now, if I keep booking beginner versus beginner, mid-card versus mid-card, main event versus main event, my roster's going to stay stagnant, obviously. So how do I build a roster full of main eventers? I'm going to take one of my main eventers and have them work. One of them each work one of my semi-main eventers. I now have 4 main eventers after those matches are made. Now, with those 4 main eventers, split 2 of them off, work with the next set of guys. The other 2 work with the next set of guys. And you keep doing that so that way and eventually you build up a roster of nothing but main eventers. And that's what the Attitude Era was like in WWE, and that's why it was so prosperous, because there wasn't just 3 or 4 names floating around the World Heavyweight Championship. You had The Rock, you had Kane, you had Taker, you had Stone Cold, you had Cena, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Triple H,
D'Lo Brown, Val Venus, Steve Blackman. Like you want me to keep going with the mid-carders? They weren't world champions.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Where did Stone Cold start? Where did Stone Cold start? Was Stone Cold world champion right away? No, he was a mid-carder. Rock was a mid-carder. Triple H was a mid-carder. All those guys were also mid-carders that came up to the main event because they worked, like Paul Heyman said, with those main eventers. You work those mid-carders with your main eventers, you now have more main eventers. And you keep stacking the card up like that, because obviously the old main eventers are going to eventually filter out and retire. But if you have these main eventers making new main eventers, bam, they're here now. Now your new main eventers can help make some other new main eventers.
I'd like to argue the fact that a lot of people don't know how to work a main event style. Main event style is not like the rest of the card. The main event's hardly ever the best match on the card. It's normally Hogan did 3 moves. Cena did 3 moves.
The IC title match would be the best match on the card,
and that's the
pure
mid
wrestling
card
wise, because the main event was all about the story.
Yes, and you got a lot of guys that really, really want to work the like the Intercontinental style and be the main event, but the main event's not for the Intercontinental style of wrestling.
That's where you get your Roman Reigns match.
Yeah. Like, that's where you get the Hogans and the Cenas and the Punks now.
But anyway, like I was saying, the whole situation with wrestling right now, it's what spawns a lot of topics and discussions like this. And you know what? It's good to have them, but I don't know. I think that about wraps it up on my end, unless y'all had any more. I do